To release academic records files fresh objection. APC youth leader pleads with Atiku and US case against Tinubu. And Nigerian army rescues 15 abducted victims in Zamfara. Details now. The world news begins with the Lagos PDP gubernatorial candidate in the 2023 general elections, Dr. Abdulaziz Adediran, also known as Jandor, rejecting the ruling of the Lagos State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. The tribunal on Monday declared as dead on arrival the petition by Adediran against Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's re-election. The tribunal held that evidence before it showed that the petition lacked merit. Adediran had contended that Sanwo-Olu was wrongfully nominated and sponsored by his party, the All Progressives Congress, and was not qualified for the election. Reacting, Adediran, in a statement by Mr. Gbenga Ogunleye, head media and communications, Jandor for Governor campaign organization, expressed displeasure over the ruling of the Justice Arum Asham-led three-man tribunal. Adediran therefore posited that the decision of the tribunal did not reflect the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Electoral Act 2022 on issues bordering on the qualification of a candidate in an election. He, however, assured the residents of the state that the Lagos State PDP would study the judgment and decide on the next step to be taken. Similarly, the Lagos State PDP said that the party would re-strategize after examining the ruling. Alhaji Hakim Amode, the PDP's publicity secretary in Lagos State, also said in a statement that the party would know the next step after collecting the certified true copy of the judgment. Meanwhile, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has urged the 2023 governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Olajide Adediran, also known as Jandor, and Gbadebo Road's rival of the Labour Party, to join hands with his administration to develop the state. A statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Boyega Akosile, Sanwo-Olu expressed his readiness to sit with the opposition candidates and have conversations about their ideas on the development of the state. While urging them to display the spirit of sportsmanship and accept the verdict of the tribunal in good faith, the governor said there is an opportunity for everyone to contribute to the growth of Lagos. Sanwo-Olu described the tribunal's verdict as well thought out and detailed, stressing that the court's decision further affirmed the judiciary's commitment to fairness and justice, dedicating the judgment to all residents of the state. The governor added there was no victor or vanquished. Now, the All Progressives Congress has claimed that Frank Shaibu, the media aide to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 general election, Atiku Abubakar, was traumatized by his principal's serial electoral failure. APC's claim is coming in the wake of Shaibu's statement, which described a series of lies President Bola Tinubu's government told the Nigerian people since its inauguration on May 29. Also, Shaibu, in a different engagement, dared the APC-led federal government to publish the landing cost of petrol as well as the pricing template being used by the government to keep the cost of petrol at less than 640 naira per litre. Reacting to Shaibu's accusations, APC's National Publicity Secretary Felix Smoker stated that Shaibu does not have the constitutive capacity to understand the issues and the interplay of statecraft and economic management initiatives. Smoker said, and I quote, "In his pathological and cynical flippancy, Atiku's aide delved into matters he clearly does not understand or lacks a constitutive capacity to understand as a result of post-electoral traumatic stress disorder arising from his boss's serial electoral failure." Unsurprisingly, Shaibu's only evidence for such an arrogant conclusion is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has appointed more media aides than economic and security advisors, conveniently glossing over the fact that Mr. President was swift in rejigging the security architecture and repositioning the armed forces for optimal performance in defense of lives and property. End quote. Now, in a recent development, President Bola Tinubu has filed a detailed objection to a U.S. court order requiring Chicago State University to release his academic records to his main challenger and the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the February 25 presidential elections, Atiku Abubakar. Now, Tinubu's lawyers argued that his academic records are irrelevant in Nigerian courts, as the Nigerian election proceedings and the Nigerian courts have explicitly been unreceptive to the discovery. They also argue that Atiku's request is unduly intrusive and that the court should set aside the previous order, saying his political opponents have previously used his illegally obtained academic records to attack him. That conclusion, they said, should be rejected because the discovery cannot be for use in the foreign proceeding due to the decision of the Nigerian Election Court, and that decision shows the Nigerian courts would not be receptive to the discovery sought by the application. The magistrate gave no weight to the decision of the Nigerian Election Court, which is authoritative proof of the unreceptivity of the foreign court to the discovery sought, the objection read in part. Now, at an emergency hearing on September 21, the district judge, Nancy Maldonado, agreed to delay the court, or rather the order, compelling Chicago State University to release Tinubu's academic documents. Following the approval, Tinubu's legal team filed their objection on Monday. Now, in the objection, Tinubu's lawyers argued that the magistrate judge granted Atiku's application even though the applicant was barred from attempting to use a discovery in the foreign proceeding. They also argue that while Atiku's case at the Nigerian court only touched on a CSU diploma, the magistrate judge erroneously concluded to issue an order for the release of other educational documents. Tinubu argued that he stood to suffer harm in allowing discovery on issues and documents outside the diploma because his records were illegally obtained previously and had been utilized to attack him. The unlawful release of documents previously allowed the intervenor's opponents to sow confusion and spread conspiracy theories. Tinubu's objections reads in part. To talk about this and possibly other related matters on the World News at 12 that I have recently read, I actually have right here in the studio a political analyst, a social commentator, and I'll almost call him possibly an author because he has quite published a couple of articles that had to do with political coherence. And his name is Mr. Tochukwu Isukama. Mr. Tochukwu, good afternoon and welcome to the World News at 12.
Good afternoon, and thank you so very much for having me.
You are welcome, Mr. Tochukwu. It's a couple of persons, or rather, let's just say critics and analysts like you, have actually talked about the abhorrency of this CSU certificate debacle. Every day, there is always an update. As of yesterday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's legal team filed an order to say that only the certificate of his document can be released to his opposition and nothing more. Right now, they're saying that the other judge, that's Judge Alfred Gilbert, made an error by saying that the certificate plus other academic documents should be released to Atiku Abubakar. They are saying that that is an error and should not be, rather basically just a certificate. Also, in this particular fresh order, they're also saying that Atiku Abubakar literally does not really have any purpose, any purposeful intent for that document, rather than to just ridicule him or mudsling him or tarnish his image. Therefore, he is saying again through the fresh objection that there should be a stay on that order. Rather, only the certificate should be released to Atiku Abubakar and nothing else. Now, the judge, that is Judge Nancy Maldonado, has not said anything yet. We're still waiting. These are just fresh objections, fresh applications, insisting that that document should not be released. He also reiterated in this particular report that it is actually of no use in the Nigerian court. And even for the foreign parties, they do not necessarily need any use for that academic record. So why are they wanting to insert themselves? They considered it intrusive. Please, what's your take on that?
Yes, I'll answer your question, but let me digress a little by telling a little story. I once had a roommate who was not a student. All of us were students.
Okay.
But then he lied to his girlfriend that he will be graduating next semester. So as the day of graduation approached, the girlfriend and her friends were getting ready to go to his graduation. And then he was very disturbed. He was looking for a way to dissuade them from not coming to his graduation.
Okay.
The question becomes, people invite people to their graduation. Why are you graduating and don't want anybody to attend your graduation? Because he was lying. He was being deceitful. He was not even a student. So our president, Mr. Tinubu, told us that he not only that he has a degree, but that he was an outstanding student.
Yes.
Who had Americans don't talk about first class honors. What Nigerians would call first class honors. Why then are you disturbed by the prospects of your certificate and the transcript with your first class honors being displayed? Something is profoundly wrong. Somebody is lying. But we don't have to be surprised because our president has a precedence of falsehood, deceit, corruption, theft. So that's what is
but
still going on.
He stated in this particular report, in this fresh objection, that in times past, this particular, document has been used against him. He referred to the fact that in times past, it's suing for that particular document to be released. In other words, it's going to be of no use to him.
The object of article's demand for the release of the document is most irrelevant.
Okay.
What he wants to use it for is not important. He is our president, and the information about him, most of them should be public. He's a public servant. We've elected him supposedly to serve us. So we can need the information about him, and it should be made available to us. People mudslinging politicians. You cannot be in the public space and not be criticized, not be attacked. Like a one-time U.S. President Roosevelt said it, if you can't stand the heat, stay off the kitchen. There's no way you stay in the kitchen and cook and not feel the heat. If you can't stand public scrutiny, you have no business being in politics.
Okay.
So he is a politician, he is the president. People may want information about him, and they may use him to attack him, they may use him to applaud him. But the purpose is not important, the objective is not important, but it
Southwest College, Chicago in 1977. I think this is where the controversy emanated from as to the gender and the date of birth. Now, although the school themselves had said at some point that it is possible that the error was manually done, because in 1977 things were manually imputed, so it's expected for us to see human error on some of this document. That was basically what the school claimed. A particular Caleb Westberg, who was the secretary at the time, actually swore an affidavit confirming that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu attended that particular institution. So let's come back to the recent development that just emerged, where the president is saying, I'm going to read out again another phrase he said. He said that he stood to suffer harm in allowing discovery on issues and documents outside the diploma because his records were illegally obtained previously and they had been utilized to attack him. In what instance has these records been used to attack him, if at all it was transparently, if it was put out there as transparently, objectively as possible?
Well, it's possible, like you said, for when things were inputted manually for someone to make a mistake. But if you have attended a school and you have registered from one semester to the other, and each semester as you register, you state your name, you state your marital status, and all those records are somewhere. So you can run through the records and see if this same person had all along been a man and was accidentally, the record was accidentally imputed as a woman, then it's a mistake. But if it's been consistent that she was a woman, then we know the facts. There's so much questions about our president, his real hometown, his parents, his academic background, his name, and so on and so forth. And that's what is playing out. Evidently, he does not have, his antecedents is not clean. That's why he's so obsessed with, he doesn't want any information about his past to be released to the public.
Do you know something in this file was actually detailed, something was exposed that maybe we need to pay attention to? The legal team of the president were very certain that this document will be of no value in the court here. And you do recall that Atiku Abubakar intended to submit this particular academic controversial record to the Supreme Court. In other words, with the expression given by the APC camp, that is the legal team, that the Supreme Court may definitely not even have accepted any new evidence or may not even have looked into this academic record if at all the school had eventually released it to Atiku Abubakar. Based on what was written here, they said our electoral courts would not even use it. They are unresponsive to this document, meaning that they do not even value if this document is released or not. It makes no difference in our own presidential electoral court. So what is it to say that even if this document was released to Atiku Abubakar with what was exposed by the response of the APC, that the Supreme Court may definitely not even use it or consider it as any new information or appeal to discredit or discountenance the win of President Bola. Proceedings at the Nigerian courts have explicitly been unreceptive to the discovery. They also argued that his request is unduly intrusive and that the court should set aside the previous order saying his political opponents have previously used his illegally obtained academic records to attack him. Now the question is, do you use an academic record to attack an individual?
No, unless
if you knew that there was controversy about this academic record, why was it tendered at the Independent National Electoral Commission as a document which you consider to be authentic, to authenticate your claim that you indeed attended this institution? That was what the first judge in the court in the U.S. state of Illinois actually said, that you made this particular document a matter of controversy because you weakened it by submitting it to, putting it in the public space. So what is the need for your reluctance to let that document be explored further since you brought it to the public space?
Yeah, which is legitimate, which is cogent. It's what you used as your documentation to be nominated and to be elected.
Exactly.
So we elected you based on that document. So why then are you afraid of it being put in the public space? It leaves a lot to be desired. The thing is that our courts, like I said, that with the verdict of PECP, what the judiciary did unwittingly, subliminally, was that they tried themselves and reached a verdict on themselves.
Okay.
They told Nigerians what they really are. They told us that irrespective of the import, the weightiness and gravitas of their office, that they are still susceptible to all the serines of life, especially money, that they can be induced. So I think the problem is with our judiciary not living up to its moral and ethical standards, and everything else is revolving around that. But it's good that this certificate be released and Nigerians get to know about it, whether the court admits it or not, or whatever purpose is used for is most irrelevant.
Now, Mr. Tochiko, ever since the CSU certificate debacle came up, there have been a back and forth for the supporters of the APC and those who are opposing the APC. For example, there was a back and forth between the media aide of the PDP as well as, one of the spokespersons of the APC as well. Now, based on a lot of things that had taken place, Frank Schreiber said that he actually, in a statement, he said he described a series of lies that the president has told the Nigerian people since its inauguration, or rather his inauguration on May 29. And he is saying in a different engagement, he dared the APC-led federal government to publish, the landing cost of petrol as well as a pricing template being used by the government to keep the cost of petrol at less than 614 naira per litre. We do know that the naira to the dollar is a fluctuating scenario that goes up every day. So definitely, even at the OPEC, the price of petrol has also increased. And so he's asking, how come we're still on 614 naira if something is not being done? That's subsidy is not already at play. Well, in reaction to that, he stated, or rather accused the PDP of being a pathological and a cynical, flippant individual. And he said that for him, he doesn't even understand constitutive matters. He doesn't have the capacity to understand constitutive matters because of a result of post-electoral traumatic stress, stating that on several occasions, Atiku Abubakar is a serial failure when it comes to to, his political agenda to progress and ascend to that presidential seat. What's your take to that reaction?
Well, the language was very harsh, very acidic. But then it's politics. You expect your opponents to attack you verbally, mostly, yeah. The thing is that I don't agree with him, the APC spokesman. Shaibu may not have the expertise, the knowledge to understand the arcanes of subsidy and subsidy payment and all that. But it is the job of the government to explain its policies to the masses in the language they will understand. So let him break it down to Shaibu and break it down to the rest of Nigerians. Because as Goodluck Jonathan once said that this subsidy thing is one big scandal. And when Buhari came to power, he said the exact thing. And then he removed subsidy. And again said he is paying subsidy. Then again he removed subsidy. And our new president has removed subsidy and is still paying subsidy. So it's all one enigma wrapped in a riddle. Nobody really knows what is going on. But as a one-time oil minister said, I think it was Tam David West, that there is no subsidy being paid. It's one big fraud. It's one big corruption going on. Why is there no subsidy being paid? And they keep talking about landing cost. Where is our oil landing from? We produce the oil. It's only get refined. What we pay is the cost of refining and cost of transportation, and not landing. We don't buy it from Saudi Arabia. It's our oil. So this riddle needs to be decoded, needs to be sorted out.
So we're still on the APC PDP back and forth. Of course, we'll always expect this kind of scenario to revolve when it comes to politics. Your opponents will always oppose anything you say, always look for loopholes in your administrative policies.
That's politics.
So it's actually quite expected. However, this time around, this one sounds like a plea. So the candidate of the People's Democratic Party has been charged by a particular youth leader of the All Progressives Congress, his name, Hyde Kalu, to discontinue the suit he filed against President Bola Tinubu in the United States. Now, of course, you do know that Tinubu in a suit is asking the U.S. District Court to order Chicago State University to release President Tinubu's academic records. Now, in a statement on Monday, Kalu actually begged Atiku to save the country the embarrassment. And I want to read out what he said. He said, Atiku is a statesman, and it is not in contention that he has a love of Nigerian heart. I am sure that no Nigerian is happy with the way our country has been subjected to ridicule over the court ruling in the United States. For the love of this country and to spare Nigerians the shame of how this process may end, it is important that we plead with Atiku to drop that case and not allow us to wash our dirty linens in public. He says further, we are all patriots, and I believe that we can have a decent way of handling this matter and save Nigerians the shame of this impending embarrassment. He said the election has come and gone, and a president has converged. He said further that we are all humans, and that is why he is pleading with Atiku to discontinue the case in America for the sake of the country and in consideration of the friendship between him and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What's your take to that particular statement by one of the APC spokesperson? He himself has admitted that this debacle is quite a huge embarrassment to Nigerians, but actually saying for the sake of peace, since the fact that President Tinubu as well as Atiku Abubakar have a cordial relationship, they should try as much as possible to come to a resolution in secret rather than in public.
In secret. It is this secret resolutions that have kept the country where it is. The elite game, elite power game. So Nigerians became more politically savvy, more politically reawakened. So we are getting tired of these secret agreements. We want things done in the open. And evidently it's a major embarrassment to the government. But if that embarrassment, Nigerians want to know if the man we elected to be our president and it's an embarrassment. We want to know if the man the court has approved of his electoral victory as president of Nigeria is an embarrassment. We want to know. after all, nothing educates more than a mistake. If we had made a mistake and brought an embarrassment onto ourselves, yes, we'll deal with the embarrassment, but learn from our mistakes for the future. Washing your dirty clothes in public, some people say you should not. Some people do. A country like the United States remains the most powerful, the wealthiest, the most stable democracy, the most
supposedly.
The most stable democracy, and the most successful country, because it has repeatedly washed its linens in the open. Okay, nothing is ever hidden. The Soviet Union suppressed every information, did not wash its linens in the dirty linens in public, and the Soviet Union imploded. So if you're to learn from these two countries, which template or pattern would you follow? So I believe in washing your dirty clothes in the linen. Throw it open. How did Igbo say it? Oki keputi for na, oriputi for mana.
Interpretation, please, because we have non-speaking English listening. So, yes.
So very hard to interpret. But if a thief is revealed, then the bottom line is revealing thieves is for the interest of the community. Doing things, exposing evil is for the benefit of the people. Okay. So let these things be thrown out in the open. Let the world see our weakness. Let them see our strength. Let us learn from all these things, the embarrassment, the mistakes. It will all be for our good.
All right, we're still yet to hear from Judge Nancy Maldonado on basically these fresh objections that have been filed by the APC, that's the president's legal team, and to know if basically they would respect that, fresh charge or the fresh objection to just the certificate being released and nothing else, no other records being released for concerning the president. Now, you made a very important statement concerning the fact that for us to excel in our democratic practice or in this particular dispensation, it is possible that it can only be achieved through transparency.
Yes.
But he just alluded in this particular report, he alluded that the president and Atiku Abubakar are actually friends. For some persons actually say that if Atiku Abubakar wants something now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually granted. They are friends, they are political allies. And so if they're already political allies and this continuous, repetitive instance of this case being put in the public is bringing an embarrassment to Nigerians, to the nation, even with, Nigerians in diaspora in the face of our international counterparts, is it not better for them to come to a conclusion? Do you think Atiku Abubakar should actually consider the relationship they have and possibly drop pursuing the case, since according to what the legal team of the president said, that particular document will be of no use in our Nigerian court?
The problem of Nigeria, or one of the major problems of Nigeria, has been the refusal of the average Nigerian, and especially the refusal of the members of the power elite to subordinate their personal interest or group interest to the overall interest of the country. So in trying to reach a deal with the president and stop this process of searching out justice will be still putting your personal interest above national interest. The pursuit for justice is wonderful and should be continued. Like a one-time U.S. senator and a presidential candidate said, extremism in defense of liberty is no vice. Extremism in pursuit of justice is no vice. So we should continue to pursue justice, irrespective of what turn it takes on the short run. On the long run, it will be in the interest of the country, because it's such courageous, it's such determined endeavor to gain justice that sow the seeds that will germinate and bloom, and in the end reinforce the rule of law and strengthen the institutional moorings of democracy in Nigeria.
Do you think the president elicited more curiosity with his response, concerning that record not being released, with the kind of phrases that were used?
Of course.
I think my curiosity got whetted as to what exactly could be in that academic record. Don't you think that is basically what he stoked?
Because there's nothing unusual about seeking the academic record of a politician.
This particular situation wasn't something to consider initially until when Judge Jeffrey Gilbert said that the record should be given, or rather released, to Atiku Abubakar. This was about last week, Tuesday, when the judge said, release this records to Atiku Abubakar, the certificate and the record. And then it was the response that stoked the curiosity of a lot of Nigerians, or a couple of other people who were interested in this particular situation. Their appetites were docile. But when he immediately wrote what he wrote in his appeal, it stoked curiosity. Do you think that the legal team should try as much as possible to be careful with the kind of words they use if they intend to douse the attention on this particular record?
The legal team, a band of lawyers, are doing the bidding of their paymaster. They're out there to make money. The objective is not humanitarian. The objective is they are motivated by money making. So I think they are basically doing what their principal wants them to do. So they are doing their job in line with the dictates of their principal.
All right, Mr. Tochukwu Isokama, I really appreciate you for taking your time and responding to those questions. I know I put you on the seat and I was asking you questions like you have a direct, would I say, kind of information into the legal team of the president at the moment.
Minds,
like you understand,
or I have prophetic powers.
But it's quite important for us to look at these issues because it bears to mind a couple of questions that Nigerians need answers to. I think Nigerians want to be able to trust the president. They also want to be able to trust his administration. I think it is quite potent for him if he can extend the olive branch so that Nigerians can trust him, and then we can have a viable economy. It is important because whatever he does affects the economy, and we want to work along with the president so we can enjoy his dispensation. Once again, thank you so much for being part of the World News at 12.
You're welcome.
Now, finally, before the World News at 12 is wrapped up, the Special Forces troops of the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Hadirin Daji of the Nigerian Army have again rescued over 15 kidnapped victims in the northwest of Zamfara state. According to Zalagoza Makama, a security expert in the Lake Chad region, the troops under the command of the General Officer commanding 8th Division said the success was achieved on September 25, 2023. He said the troops acted on an intelligence report about the abduction of an unspecified number of innocent persons from Kayambogo village on the Bukayum local government area of the northwest state. Also, Zagazola understands that the troops immediately mobilized and established a blocking position at a possible route suspected to be used by the bandits. The security expert added that contact was made and unspecified numbers of the bandits were neutralized, forcing them to flee and abandoning the kidnapped victims. Military sources said that the victims were handed over to the district head of the Gwashi to reunite with the victims, to reunite with the family members. To wrap up the World News at 12, here again are the top stories. Now, PDP's Jandor has rejected the tribunal ruling. Also, Sanwo-Olu has offered Jandor Road Viva the opportunity to serve legations. APC slams Atiku's aid. Tinubu challenges U.S. court order to release academic records, files fresh objection. APC youth leader pleads with Atiku on U.S. case against Tinubu. And a Nigerian army rescues 15 abducted victims in Zamfara. That's a wrap on the World News at 12 right here in Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Nwachukwu. Good afternoon. Thank you for listening as well as staying with us. Up next is Matters with Ikami Judah.